I do not encourage nor condone any of the actions performed or products shown in this video. All of the videos are produced in a safe and controlled environment. Do not attempt to replicate any of the actions performed during this video.
Hello beautiful people from the internet, it is Connie over here. Welcome back to another video and welcome to this year's edition of the evolution of my addiction to cigarettes, which is a series of videos that I've been enjoying making for the past 3 years, in which I leave documented how my addiction to cigarettes is going. It's pretty self-explanatory by the title, what can I say? Today I'm going to mainly be going over 2025 as a whole, but I'll also give a brief history of how I started smoking and how things went up until this year, which I will tell you right now has been a year of increase. And I'm going to be talking about that story while having a Chesterfield, so let's go. So everything started for me back in the summer of 2021. That's when I had my first cigarette. I had that very big nicotine buzz that is very overwhelming. I had to be sitting down. My extremities were feeling sort of numb. I am a very sensitive person to substances in general. I have very low tolerance and nicotine as well. And so for the first months in which I was smoking, I was feeling this very overwhelming type of sensation every time I would take a hit of the cigarette. Not even just the first one, the whole cigarette would give me this sensation, and so I would have to smoke very slow. This very big sensation also prompted me to not smoke a lot. I was smoking about every 3 to 4 days, 1 time per day at this point in time, and I feel like this kept going from about summer of 2021 until about December of 2021. Now, December of 2021 was when I created this channel. I was starting to feel more accustomed to the feeling of nicotine, and I was recording a video about every 2 days, which was also the amount of smokes that I was having. It started being some sort of a ritual in which I would think about a topic, go outside on some sunny afternoon and sit down, have a smoke and record a video for YouTube. And that kept going for a pretty long time, about a year and a half after December of 2021. Then came the summer of 2023, where my first real increase happened. I was going outside a lot more. I was feeling a lot less socially anxious than I had been in the past years, and so I was just putting myself out more and going into the real world, not fearing it as much as I once did. And I found myself smoking 1 cigarette per day in the same ritualistic manner. So I would choose some time of the day, usually the morning or the afternoon, in which I would go outside, sit in some plot of land just like this one, and have a smoke, you know. I was enjoying having 1 cigarette per day because I knew I was not going to have more. I was not really having cravings for more, and it was a time of the day where I would sit down and completely detached from all other responsibilities and problems and worries of life, and I would just be there having my cigarette, knowing that would be my only one for the day, and thoroughly taking the experience in, really, you know. However, in this same summer, I started noticing that I was increasing a little bit more than I wanted to. I was having 2 cigarettes per day, sometimes per week, and so this was kind of the first time where I really sat down with myself and reflected upon my consumption and asked, hey, do I really want to be smoking 2 cigarettes per day? Do I perhaps want to go back down to 1 and just have this ritual in which I only smoke 1 time per day? And eventually I decided that's what I wanted to do, and so after a little bit of thinking, I went back to my 1 cigarette per day jazz that I was having before. Now 2024 came around and I was doing pretty good with my 1 cigarette a day rule until I decided to try the IQOS, which is a heat not burn device. I have a whole video on this channel all about it, but I ended up getting more addicted to the IQOS than I thought I would, and at some point there I was having about 5 sticks of IQOS per day, which I knew I didn't want to be doing. And so again, I had to sit myself down and say, hey, we have to let go of the IQOS. You know, I was not really enjoying having so many IQOS per day. It was more of a thing of it being so convenient and me always reaching for it, you know. And so eventually I got that under control. I let go of the IQOS, and the rest of 2024 went pretty smoothly up until the summer of 2025. Really, I was having mostly 1 cigarette per day. Now, summer of 2025 was kind of the catastrophe. It was that time in your life where everything that can go wrong goes wrong, and I had a bunch of really unfortunate things happen. It started with my cat dying. Then my dad got really sick and we were very concerned. We didn't know what was going on. I was taking care of him for a couple of weeks there. Then my car got hit by a tree and I was very sad because I thought I would lose it. I thought it would be unfixable. Thankfully I got it fixed, but at the time I didn't know it was going to be possible because the damages really were not good. Then the house that I grew up in ended up being sold, which made me very sad. You know, I spent 24 years of my life in that house, and so it was a difficult goodbye. Then very shortly after, one of my aunts passed away unexpectedly. It was a very big shock for the family, and if all of this wasn't enough, I also ended my relationship of 4 years at the end of 2025. And so these had been just very turbulent months, and I realized that during this period of time I was allowing myself a little bit more lenience. I was grabbing for one more cigarette here, one more cigarette there. And when I finally started thinking about it, I was having 2 to 3 cigarettes per day, which is what is still happening currently. So 2025 was a pretty stable year up until the summer, and then I found myself just feeling very stressed and allowing myself to have one more smoke here and there, and I think that's how the increase really happened. I didn't even really realize that it was going on until things kind of settled down, you know, a month or two ago, when I realized I was grabbing more than 1 cigarette per day. I was now having one after a meal and having one in the morning, and you know, it's just, I started acknowledging, hey, I am steering away from the patterns that I once had. I also started realizing that the thought of smoking was clouding my mind more, whereas before I could have my 1 cigarette per day and not really think about smoking for the rest of the day and know that the next day I would have another one and that would be it and I'll be fine. Now I feel like I have my 2-3 cigarettes in a day, and still I am thinking, you know, I would like to have another cigarette now. So it definitely has turned from the ritual that it once was to more of an actual addiction, where it is a thought that is in my brain a lot of times per day. It is more difficult to control. I no longer really feel a buzz at all, which I felt for the first at least 3 years, you know. Of course, it was decreasing in quantity as the years went by, but it was still very much feelable. Now I don't really feel it anymore unless I am smoking a rolled cigarette, which I feel like are stronger. I don't know if they are stronger or not, but I feel like I still can get a buzz if I'm smoking a cigarette that I roll myself. And yeah, I don't know, I feel like I want to go back down to my 1 cigarette per day routine, because in smoking more, I kind of have lost the enjoyment of that ritual that I once had. Smoking is something that's very harmful to the body, you know, and it's not something that I want to be doing mindlessly. It's something that I want to do 1 time per day, sitting down, acknowledging that it is a bad thing that I'm doing, but still taking the experience in and making sure that I'm enjoying it to the fullest, not distracting myself with other activities while I'm doing it, not allowing myself to keep grabbing 1 cigarette more and 1 cigarette more and lose that ritual that I once had, you know. And so I feel like the work that I have to do now is to try and reduce back to 1 cigarette per day. I am not sure how easy that's going to be or how possible. I know it is possible, of course, it's absolutely possible, but it's the addiction speaking, you know. I'm already thinking, but I don't really want to reduce back to 1 cigarette per day, you know. But I have to fight these thoughts and try and go back to the consumption that I had before. And so I feel like I'm going to gradually train myself into the rhythm that I had before the summer of 2025 came around. We'll see how it goes. In the recap of next year, I'll let you know how things went. I am almost 100% certain that I will not be increasing any more than this, but also that's what I thought when I was smoking 1 cigarette per day, you know, so I guess you never really know. But I just have to keep self-control at the front of everything and ground myself and tell myself, girl, no, you're not gonna die if you don't have another cigarette, you know. It may feel a little bit uncomfortable, deal with it. It's your own problem, you created it, you deal with it now, you know. Yeah, I am now going to go through the process of training myself back down to 1 cigarette per day, and I'll let you know how that goes in the future. This is how it has evolved from the beginning of 2021 to now, and I hope you have enjoyed listening to my story, and I will come back very soon with something else to tell you. But for now, have a beautiful rest of your day, and I will see you all very soon, all right? Bye!